Hi, I'm Shonda Miles. I am a business consultant. I want to talk to you about 7 questions every leader should ask themselves daily. 7 questions every leader should ask themselves daily. Number 1, am I okay? Am I feeling okay? Am I rested? I believe that leaders learn to go on autopilot every single day. And so you have to, at some point, decide to take care of yourself. You have to check in with yourself. And I know it's hard as a leader because we're responsible for other people. We're responsible for their lives. We're responsible for their income. We're responsible for other people. And so it can be hard to stop and ask yourself, are you okay? You just have this, leaders are driven. They have these goals. They have this vision, and they want to see this strategy executed. And so it can be hard to stop and ask yourself if you're okay. And a lot of times leaders don't ask themselves, are they okay, until they are burnt out. So I'm inviting you to think about today stopping, considering yourself for a change, putting yourself first for a change, and just checking in with yourself and asking yourself, are you okay? And I realize that emotions are contagious. So if I am a leader and I'm depressed and I'm down, then my people are going to exude that same energy. And so I want to make sure that I'm okay. I want to make sure that I'm taking care of myself. And a lot of times we just don't take the time to check in with ourselves. So I invite you to check in with yourself today and ask yourself, am I okay? And if you're not okay, you got to figure out what does okay look like for you. So is that rest? Is that coming home at a decent time? Is that spending time with your family? Is that, some self-care? What does it look like? Is it talking to a therapist? Is it hiring a coach? What's being okay look like? Is it journaling every single day? Is it getting physical exercise? Is it checking your nutrition? What are you putting in your mouth? Are you getting enough, food? So ask yourself, am I okay? Am I rested? And then, if you're not, then you got to think about what actions you need to take in order to, so that you're okay. Number 2, is my family okay? Have I checked in with my spouse, my children, my grandchildren, my parents? Am I paying attention to them? Am I giving them 5 to 15 minutes a day? What do they need? This is a very important question because when the business is gone, when the job is gone, we only have our family. And on our deathbed, we're only concerned about our family. So we want to make sure that we're checking in with them because they need us in a very different way, a very special way, a very unique way. And so we want to be available to our family and our family first. So we want to make sure that we're checking in. We're just asking them, are we okay? What is it? Or we're listening, we're paying attention. Because sometimes, as parents, as spouses, we have to read between the lines. We have to figure out what happened or what's going on, what needs to be said that hasn't been said. So think about your spouse. Do you know their love language? Your children, do you know their love language? So do you know what they need? Are you listening? Are you hearing things that are not being said? And so as a leader, even though we have a lot of responsibility outside of the home, we have a lot of responsibility inside of the home as well that we need to pay attention. And I believe that it is a priority that's a top priority above business or above being employees. We got to make sure that we are taking care of our home first. So we're spending time with our family every single day, 5 to 15 minutes at least, quality time, listening to see what it is that they're saying, what it is that they need. Number 3, this question I got from Jack Canfield, and so I'm going to use it for me as a spouse, as a wife, and so you can use it for yourself. This works for spouses or children or friends or, whatever it is. You can use it for this. And if you're an employer or employee, the question is something like, what is it, as I'm, wife, what is it that I can do? How would you rate our relationship? How would you rate me as a wife this week on a scale of 1 to 10? 1 being the worst wife ever, 10 being the best wife ever. And so if it's anything other than a 10 for that week, you want to know what is it that what would it take to be a 10? And so this really lets you know what area, what your spouse needs, what or your children need, or whoever, what they need from you to become a 10. And so the only way you know this is to ask, right? Because what we think, we think we're perfect. We think we're doing good. And then when you ask, your loved ones, because oftentimes we love them the way we want to be loved. We love our loved ones in our love language, but it's a fact that more than likely our loved ones have a different love language than we do. So we ask them, we check in every single week, how am I doing on a scale of 1 to 10? And then they say, 6 or 7. And you say, okay, what would it take for me to be a 10? And then they tell you, and then you go and do those things so that you can improve the relationship. That was number 3. Number 4 is, am I present wherever I am? Am I listening? And so leaders, this is number 4. We sometimes have trouble listening. We believe that we are listening. We're wanting the person who's speaking to hurry up so we can say what we have to say, or we can get ready for the next meeting. But oftentimes we're not listening. A lot of times we think we're the smartest ones in the room, but we don't realize that more than likely people work for us are smarter than we are. They have a lot to offer. They bring fresh eyes oftentimes to a situation. And so we have to ask ourselves, am I present? Am I present when I'm in a meeting? Am I present with my spouse? Am I present with my children? Or am I completely somewhere else? Am I present? Am I listening? Am I, somewhere else when I'm at home? I wish I was at work. When I was at work, I wish I was at home. Am I present? Am I listening? And so this is important, that we're listening to whoever's speaking to us and we're present in the moment. We're not distracted by social media. We're not distracted by email. We're not distracted by all the dings. We're focused and we're present in the moment, wherever we are. Number 5 is, am I doing the stuff that someone else should be doing? Oftentimes, leaders, we find ourselves solving everybody else's problems instead of teaching them how to solve problems, teaching them how to become solution-oriented, to become a problem solver. Oftentimes, we're doing things that we have no business doing. And so sometimes we've assigned it to somebody and we think that they're incompetent, so we take it back, or we are a micromanager, and so we want to do things that we shouldn't be doing. But it is important as a leader that we're able to delegate and train people how to do something well. And as long as they do it as 80% as well as we do it, it's perfectly fine. And if not, we can find somebody who can do it, who could train them to do it 80% well. But we got to make sure we're not doing something that somebody else should be doing. Anything that is repetitive, anything that should not be done by us, we should delegate it to somebody else. And we need to leave it with them, unless if they can't do it, we need to hire somebody who can, or train somebody else who can. Number 6 is, am I paying attention to problems that need my attention? Number 6 is, am I paying attention to problems that need my attention? And oftentimes we put it off. It's a headache, right? We don't want to have to deal with problems. We deal with problems all day long. And so some things we ignore. We think, okay, it'll wait till tomorrow. I'll do it. I will deal with it tomorrow. I'll deal with it next week. I'll deal with it next month. We put it off because it doesn't seem that important right now. It's a problem, but we just ignore it, like an employee who we need to fire, but we haven't. Who we need to talk to, give a little feedback to, we haven't. Who we need to give some constructive criticism to, but we haven't, because we know it's a pain in the butt and we know they can't handle it. So we avoid it. But we got to make sure we're handling things appropriately. We handle problems right away, because if we don't, they become huge, right? They become mountains and they didn't have to be. So we got to make sure we're handling these things right away. So we need to handle problems effectively and right away. Number 7 is, am I growing and am I developing my people? And so if we want to be better, if we want to have the best company, we got to make sure we're the best leaders. We got to make sure that we're developing our employees. So we have some type of program, professional development program, personal development program, where our people can, get training in key areas of their life, personal and professional. We got to make sure that we're doing the exact same thing, that we're on some type of program, professional development program, a personal development program that helps us to be better people all around. And so if we don't have a program, then our people, our employees, our staff, they don't think that it's important. So you got to make sure that you have a plan and that you encourage your people, you implore your people, you mandate that your people have some type of personal and professional plan. Number 8 is, have I checked in with at least one report about how they are doing? And so I'm talking about personally. I think it's good to check in with people and ask them how they're doing, because a lot of times people are dealing with a lot of stuff and they never say a word. They just go and go and go. But we got to just check in with people. We got to be listening, having our ears to the ground. We got to make sure we're listening. Things are happening to our people. We should know about it. I'm amazed when I see that leaders their employees their direct reports have a spouse or a mother who has terminal illness, and the leader didn't know anything about it. How is that possible? And it's because we're going through emotions. It's because we're busy. It's because we are so detached sometimes from our people's personal lives. But if you're a leader, then you should know what's going on with your people. What's going on in their families, what are their needs, their pressing needs, their problems, their issues, things, their goals, the things that their hobbies. We should be talking to our people so that we know what's going on and what drives them, what's their goal, what's their motivation. But we can't know that if we don't ask them. And then 9 is, do I have time to reflect? And I gave you 2 extra ones because it was just 7, right? I gave you 2 extra ones. It's important that we take time to think. And there's a lot of things that we should be thinking about during our reflection time. And we might have different times to reflect on different things. But it's important to have think time. This is so important. Maybe you have think time about a problem, an issue, a question that you just want to take time to think about alone, by yourself, off somewhere. You might be reflecting every single day before bed about what happened during the day. You might be reflecting on the lessons that you've learned. There are just different things that you can spend time reflecting on, but it's important to think about reflecting on what you've done, reflecting on the lessons that you're learning, reflecting on, things, the changes that you made. Did it work? Did it not work? You want to be thinking about, issues. How can you resolve problems that are going on in your organization? How can you, get better? Or what changes you need to make? So there are different things you need to think about and reflect on. So I hope these things will help you as a leader. So this is 7 questions, and I gave you 2 bonus. 7 questions every leader should ask themselves daily. 1 is, am I okay? Am I feeling okay? Am I rested? 2 is my family okay? Have I checked in with my spouse, my children, my grandchildren, parents? Am I paying attention to them? Did they get 5 to 15 minutes? What do they like or need? Number 3 is the Jack Canfield question, is, if on a scale of 1 to 10, how can I be a better, whatever my role is with this person? How can I be a better wife, a better leader, a better parent, a better grandparent? How can I be better on a scale of 1 to 10? Or, you ask them to rate you on a scale of 1 to 10. Then if they give you anything less than a 10, then you ask them, what would it take to be a 10? The next one is, number 4 is, am I present? Wherever I am I present? Am I listening? 5 is, am I doing the stuff that someone else should be doing? 6, am I paying attention to problems that need my attention? 6 is, am I paying attention to problems that need my attention? 7, am I growing? Am I helping my people grow? 8, have I checked in with at least one report about how they are doing? 9 is, do I have time scheduled for think time? And do I have time scheduled for reflection time every single day? So these are 9 questions every leader should ask themselves every single day. If this content has been helpful to you, you can go to shondamiles.com and you will receive a daily video on YouTube, a daily podcast episode, and a daily blog post.